pleasant day to everyone. And we are on our chapter 1 of the lesson for your Indigenous Creative Crafts or your ICC subject elective 3. So we're going to talk about the theories of the indigenous people of the Philippines. And we are going to discuss how the peopling of the Philippines came to be. So this is the main topic for our chapter 1. So introduction to the peopling of the Philippines, meaning kung paano po nagkaroon ng mga tao dito sa Philippines. So the Philippines is an archipelago with a rich history of migration. So we know na we are surrounded by the water system, no, the oceans on the different sides and seas sa ating pong bansa. And our archipelago is surrounded by water, and many islands ang ating archipelago. So various theories explain how the islands were populated. So because of the distances of these islands from each other, hindi pa po uso yung mga eroplano or the easy means of transportation nowadays. Hindi pa uso noon. So ang nangyayari ay we have different understandings on how these theories ay nagpakita din po ng diverse culture ng bawat taga-isla ng lahat ng archipelago ng Pilipinas. The first theory that we have is the out of Taiwan theory. Out of Taiwan theory is widely accepted today. It suggests that the ancestors of the Filipinos or the Filipino people migrated from Taiwan to the Philippines. So bringing with them the Austronesian language and culture and essentially populating our archipelago through the series of migration originating from Taiwan. So this is considered the most likely explanation for the origins of the Philippine population today. So it was proposed by Peter Bellwood. So Bellwood proposed that the Austronesian-speaking peoples migrated from Taiwan, and they migrated during the 3000 and 1500 BCE. Today, Austronesian-speaking peoples comprise most or all of the indigenous populations of Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Madagascar. So according to this theory, the first Austronesians arrived in the Philippines, specifically in the Batanes Islands and Northern Luzon. So bakit po we called it the Taiwan theory or the Taiwan model, out of Taiwan model? Our DNA is another supporting evidence of this is the DNA analysis showing a link between the Taiwanese populations and those in the Philippines. So the genetic and archaeological support na to, na studies, nagpapakita na people from Taiwan to the Philippines are almost of the same genetic analysis, kumbaga, genetic evidences. So the land, ang isang reason daw nito kung paano nakalipat yung mga taga-Taiwan to the Philippines is the land bridge theory, which is also later ay pag-uusapan din natin. So this was often referred to as the Taiwan model, and it suggests that during the last ice age, when the sea levels were lower, a land bridge between Taiwan and the Philippines was existing. And it allowed human beings to migrate from Taiwan and to populate the Philippine archipelago. However, nagiging questionable din po ito nowadays because current consensus largely rejects this theory due to lack of geological evidences, showing that such a land bridge existed between the two regions. Kumbaga, hindi nila mahanap yung land bridge nito because if we check the levels of land from the sea level, hindi po nakikita yung land bridges na sinasabi nito. But another concept is that during the glacial period na to, ice was still existing, and it was through ice on the last ice age na nakatawid po yung mga these Taiwanese people to the Philippines. They populated Batanes and the other upper Luzon or northern Luzon area. So, primarily, also din, isa din pong nila is maybe these Taiwanese people are seafaring people. Kasi we know that magaling silang gumawa ng mga boat or mga kanilang mga seafaring ships, and they can transfer from Taiwan to the Philippines. So while it was once widely accepted, recent geological studies demonstrate that the sea between Taiwan and the Philippines is just too deep to ever have been a land bridge during the glacial periods. So medyo naku-question yan. Mamaya pag-usapan pa natin ang um, land bridges na to. So today, sa mga panahong ito, Austronesian-speaking peoples comprise most or all of the indigenous populations of Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and the Madagascar. So if you can see on the map, hindi lamang Philippines yung dinaanan na nilang Philippines, but they also went to Borneo, to Indonesia, they went to other parts of the archipelago, even to Papua New Guinea and to Hawaii. Nakita nyo ba, di ba, Hawaiian people also have dark skin like natin, di ba? Parang pareho din natin yung kanilang genetic comprise, pagka-comprise sa kanila, yung ating mga genes na mga moreno at morena, nakuha din po ng mga Hawaiian. Even Moana, di ba? The basic people, or no, the tribal people of Hawaii have also dark skin, like the Filipinos. Okay, these Austronesian people or these Austronesians in the Southeast Asia, you can Google the map na kasi medyo malabo po dito from my PowerPoint. You can Google the map and then makikita nyo po kung from Taiwan kung saan pa yung mga pinuntahan nila. The Micronesia, Melanesia, Polynesia, yan. Yung mga bansang napuntahan po ng mga Austronesians of the Southeast Asia. So, tingnan nyo na lang po yun. Check this one, the link that I've shared with you. So in this hypothesis, the first Austronesians reached the Philippines at around 2200 BC from Taiwan and settling into the Batanes Islands and northern Luzon. So ito yung mga di ba, yung tinuro ko sa inyo kanina, from Batanes downwards to the other islands of Luzon or the Philippines. They have spread the Negritos na to na mga grupo with the Austronesian speaking na mga tao ay they voyage farther down. Hindi lamang po sa northern part ng Luzon, but they also spread to the other islands in the Philippines. Tapos, after the Philippines, they even went through other countries in Southeast Asia. So, they assimilated the earlier Negrito groups, which arrived during the Paleolithic Age and resulting to the modern Filipino ethnic groups na nagdi-display po ng mixture between Austronesian and Negrito groups. Other regions, okay. Various groups ng mga ethnical groups natin dito sa Luzon. So, out of the Sudaland theory ang susunod. Another significant model of the theories of the peopling of the Philippines is the out of Sundaland theory. So, this theory posits that the Austronesian peoples migrated from the Sundaland region. Ano yung Sundaland region? This is the sunken part of the Malayan Peninsula. O yan. Pinapakita po dito sa map na to. Because of ice age na tumaas ang sea level, at the same time, yung land masses natin, we know that this part is in the Pacific Ring of Fire. So, meron po mga displacement ng mga islands. And this sunken Sundaland mass, which I mentioned earlier, the theory supports that the modern Sumatra, Java, Borneo, and the Malay Peninsula is included in the sunken island. Tingnan nyo po, ang lapad-lapad po niyan. So nowadays, what exists is the Malaysian Peninsula, Sumatra, Java. This is part of Indonesia. And Borneo, which is Malaysia. So then, padugtong po yan sa ating Palawan and the Sulu Archipelago. So ito po lahat ng mga to, ang area na to na Sundaland, yan, dito rin daw, pwede rin ang galing ang ating mga ninuno. So from here, they go through Palawan and through Sulu. Then next is the Sundaland. So the land bridge theory. proposes that early humans crossed the land bridges connecting the Philippines to mainland Asia. Ito rin parang combination ng Sundaland and the Taiwan theory, di ba? This theory is based on the geological changes during the Ice Age. So ito nga, yung land bridges could be comprised of land itself or the ice, glacial ice na pwede pong tawiran ng mga people from mainland Asia to the respective archipelagos or islands in the Southeast Asia. So how might climate change have influenced migration patterns? Bakit? O bumaba sila from the sobrang lamig, pupunta sila 'di ba to the Pacific region which is warmer in temperature. So baka yun ang mga pattern na umiwas sila sa masyadong malamig and then they go down and went down to more higher temperature in heat kumbaga dito sa Southeast Asia. Okay. So, you may also do some research or answer or check on this question, no? Pwede ninyong gamitin ito for your comment in the YouTube section. So, how might climate change have influenced migration patterns? So, pwede nyo po yung sagutin doon as a comment in the YouTube section. Now, the next theory that we have is Bayer's wave migration. So he mentioned, so Bayer is, the theory was developed by Henry Otley Bayer, an anthropologist and founder of the University of the Philippines Anthropology Department. So he said that there are waves of migration from our Indonesian and Malaysian ancestors. So he mentioned that the first wave of migrants were from Indonesia, and there were the A people who arrived at around 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. And he said, afterwards, 2,500 years ago, nasundan po siya ng Indonesian Set B people. And then the third wave were the Proto-Malays who arrived around 800 to 500 BC. And the fourth wave was the Deutero-Malays who arrived at around 300 to 400 BC. Now, this could be an additional information for you to research. What's the difference between the Indonesian A, Indonesian B, the Proto-Malays, and the Deutero-Malays? I will include that in the quiz, so be sure to research some information about these 4 waves of migration according to Bayer. But additional information could be given regarding his waves of migration. So he said that the first wave of migration included the Dawn Man, which is the Java Man and the Peking Man. They arrived in the Philippines much earlier pa compared to this Indonesian A. So aboriginal group of hunters and gatherers who also arrived in the Philippines were the Negritos. So this is also additional information regarding Bayer's theory. So these Negritos, they are hunters and gatherers na galing po sa other parts of the world that arrived in the Philippines about 30,000 years ago. Then, 30,000 years ago. And then came the Indonesian types. So these Indonesian types arrived around 6,000 years ago, and they were more developed than the previous migrants. So they introduced nga, ang iba nito, nag-introduce pa the Deutero-Malays, I think, or the group who arrived in the Philippines. The Malay types have brought into the archipelago the Iron Age. So Bayer's influence is one of the most well-known prehistoric theories of population development in the Philippines, and his works influenced the theories of many anthropologists. So he's also considered one of the leaders in the field of anthropology in the Philippines. So other theories like the Austronesian theory suggest that the first humans arrived from the north via Taiwan, di ba? Tulad ng sinabi natin. And then new discoveries po are leading to the re-evaluation of past hypotheses and the construction of new theories such as the Bayer's wave migration. Another migration that we need to consider will the Malay ancestry. So the majority of the population's ancestors are of Malay descent down. So they migrated from the Southeast Asia, Asian mainland, and what is now known as Indonesia. So ito may mga green na parts po ng natin yan. Makikita ninyo yan. That's Indonesia and Malaysia. So do you think this ancestry influences Filipino identity today? You can also answer that question in the YouTube comment section. So You choose whatever question, ha, tapos i-type nyo ko, tapos sagutin niyo. Okay? And what do you think are those influences of the Malay ancestry? The previous slide, the Malay ancestry was a part of the Bayer migration theory. Now we're going to talk about Jocano or Landa Jocano's wave migration theory. So he suggests that the multiple waves of migration came into the different regions of the Philippines. So each wave now, they have different cultural and linguistic influences. Even the languages, no, our ethnical groupings right now are based on the ethno-linguistic origin ng ating mga ninuno. Now, these languages and culture halos may pareho po with our Malaysian and Indonesian cultures around the world. So he believed that the people of the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia are all products of the same cultural evolution and migration process. So kung ano man daw yung nagtao dito sa Philippines, yun din po yung tumao or nagkaroon ng tao sa Malaysia and Indonesia. So parang nasusupport po nito yung Sundaland and out of Taiwan theory, where the original people came from. And then he believed that no group is genetically or culturally dominant and that it's incorrect to say that Filipino culture is Malayan in nature. Hindi daw po based sa Malaysian culture ang ating culture, which is actually when I have lived in Indonesia for 3 years, traveled to Malaysia for how many times and became a tourist there. Siguro may 6 na beses lang yata ako nakapunta ng Malaysia kasi every semester we have to go home, and even during my tourist visa, Malaysia, Penang in particular, and Kuala Lumpur, I've been there. And the mga tao po doon, unless the people talk or speak, you know that they have a different nationality. So ako pwede ako pagkamalang Indonesian, pwede rin ako masabing Malaysian. But some things that are physically different with the Filipinos is minsan sa tatlong yan in my opinion. Although Malaysians din nakita ko rin parang Pilipino talaga, but Indonesians are more shorter, no? Most of the Indonesian friends that I have shorter stature or height, di ba? Mas maliit sila yung common Indonesians when you see them. Tapos tayo kasi, we already are a mixture of the other races. Meron tayong na-invade tayo ng mga Spaniards for 300 years. And our Negrito blood or the pygmy blood that we have is already mixed with genes na matatangkad, di ba, at mapuputi. That's why we have lighter colors na mga Filipinos, di ba? Iba yung kulay, iba yung genetic makeup, like for example, mga height, 'di ba, mga bigote, 'di ba? Kumbaga sa iba-ibang naging pumasok na dito sa modern Philippines, nakikita natin iba na yung influensya sa ating kultura at sa ating mga lengguwahe. So he believed that the Filipino culture is not Malayan. May sarili daw tayong kultura, yun ang pinaglalaban niya ni Jocano. Whereas with Bayer, he said that our ancestry came from Indonesia and Malaysia. So he believed na rin that each barangay, punta na tayo ngayon sa composition of these ethnical groups, na itong nung bago dumating mga Spanish dito sa the Spaniards came into the Philippines, we already have our own kingdoms and barangays, di ba? So itong mga barangay natin usually is made up of, kung baga sa ngayong panahon, pareho lang yan nasa isang compound kayo. And then sa isang compound na yan ay pagmamaay-ari yan ng isang for example your lolo and lola. And then your lolo and lola had noong panahon nila halimbawa 10 pamilya, 10 anak. Then yung 10 anak na yan nagkaroon pa ng 10 apo sa 10 anak, sa kada 10 anak. So those kinship lines comprises the barangays of the early ancestry that we have. So parang ito yung pinaniniwala niya that personal ties are paramount in the kin-based social organization nung panahon ng mga prehistoric pa nating mga ninuno. So this kinship social organization, ito yung bumuo ng mga barangay at sistema natin ng kultura during the ancient times. Now, in the modern times, no, in the modern times, may mga barangay pa rin tayo, pero napapansin nyo, hindi na po siya kasing ancient kasi meron na tayong mga iba-ibang influensya from other countries in the world. Hindi lamang po ng mga Malaysian and Indonesian ancestors natin. Yan. O, ito na, napagkumpara na, no? The Austronesian theory, Ducanus theory, and Otni Bayer's theory. Tatlo po yan ay parang kinumpara. And I use this, map as a reference, no? I will send the link later and acknowledge the link na hindi po atin ito, ang map na to. But this one shows, when I googled it, na papakita kung ano yung mga ethnical groups na sinusuporta ng bawat theory na to. So the Austronesian theory, sabi di ba kanina, it came from that out of Taiwan, di ba? Out of Taiwan and na theory. So dito sila nagsettle in the Batanes and the northern parts of Luzon. So kahit naman sa Visayas, di ba, pumapasok din sila. Yan. When I was young, actually, di ba, yung mga Aita natin, di ba? Ang tawag sa kanila noon ay Ita. Or in the local language naman ng mga Bisaya, tulad ko na Hiligay noon, ang tawag sa kanila ay Ati. Ati with an A-T-I spelling. That's why we have the Ati-Atihan because Ati. Kaya yan, Ati ang tawag sa kanila imbis na Aita. So Ati, dito naman Ita, di ba, sa Luzon. Now, in the Hiligaynon language, they call these Negritos Ita. Okay, yung mga Ita. Umiikot talaga sila in the community, in our community. Nandun talaga yung presensya nila. So, when we came from Luzon, my sisters and brothers were all born in Luzon and in Antipolo. I was born in Capiz, actually. So, yung mga kapatid ko naman, dito sila sa Antipolo at Manila pinanganak. And they were calling me ate. Ate din po. That's my nickname, no? Ate. So, because I'm the eldest daughter, and I'm the eldest child, and they call me ate. But when we transferred to Iloilo, it was not funny to call me ate because at that time I was also very dark skinned. It was only when I grew older na medyo nag-lighten yung skin ko. But with the sunlight and playground natin, di ba, tayong mga bata, I was really dark skinned like my lola and my mama. My mom and my lola are all dark skinned, and my grandmother is even kulot. So she has the ancestry of the Negritos in her blood. So my lolo naman was Spanish ancestry ng lolo ko. So may mga kapatid akong mapuputi, may mga auntie ako na mapuputi, mga uncle akong mapuputi. But my mom was dark skinned. So yun, naman ako yun. And then when they call me ate, everybody was laughing because I was dark skinned, and they thought my playmates they thought that they called me ati. Yeah, the Aitas in the local language of the Hiligaynons in Iloilo. So hindi na ako pumayag na tinatawag akong ate. So hanggang ngayon, ang tinatawag nila sa akin ng mga kapatid ko is my nickname. So yung nickname ko lang tawag sa akin, and they never called me ate anymore. Kahit na they should be calling me ate, but until now na tumanda na kami, parang hindi na rin naibalik yung tradition na yun. But sometimes, yun, nalapse sila dahil nandito ako sa Manila. And then, they call me ate din po. Because that's my nickname. Parang hindi pa enough yung dami ng pangalan ko. No? Now, going back to our lesson, Austronesian theories, the Negritos also spread downwards, di ba? Yan. So, Austronesian theories, kaya bumaba sila until the Luzon area. We have the Dumagats also in Antipolo. So, they are the tribal community na hanggang ngayon po ay nagpa-practice pa rin ng kanilang kultura or sarili nilang kultura. And we've reached out sa sa mga bundok na Antipolo. They are living there, and we've experienced gift giving for them. When I was a values education department head in the DepEd, yun, naging project namin is the gift giving. And the students gave or donated food and clothes for these people. And kaming mga teachers and some student volunteers, yun, sumama with the consent of parents, sumama sa amin to cross like 5 sapa and then multiple na bundok up and down before we reach their community. And we had fun kahit po pagod kami. We had fun in helping these dumagats who are Negrito ancestry, kumbaga pinanggalingan nila. Now, Ducano's theory influenced mostly of what they call this one, um, Visayas na region. So itong Visayas na region ay mostly Indonesian and Malaysian seafarers dumating sa Pilipinas. Doon po yung unang mga pinagbagsakan po nila or unang dinaungan nila to influence the Visayan population. And then the Otley Bayer's theory naman of the Malay and Indonesian influence yan. From dito sa baba, di ba, we know that Malaysia is our neighboring country in the Sulu region and the Indonesians also. So the Mindanao is one of the influences that they have is the religion, the Muslim religion or the Moro population or the Muslim population in the southern Philippines who had established their own political entities and also their resistance to the Spanish rule later na medyo pag-usapan din natin po slightly. So these ethnic groups no that we have different ethnic groups na mapag-uusapan natin. So take note of this. It's not in the PowerPoint anyway. So some indigenous groups that we have from Luzon are the Ifugaos. So they are known for their Banawi rice terraces, which is the major tourist attraction in the Philippines. So they are skilled farmers and they develop an inventive irrigation system. So we also have the nomads, di ba? The Badjao, sea nomads. So, saan ba galing ang mga Badjao? Yung mga nakikita nyo pong sumasakay sa mga sasakyan na yan at nagtatambol, nagsasabi naman sila, di ba, na they are the Badjaos. Now, these Badjaos came from the Sulu area of the Philippines. So, Sulu in the Mindanao. So, they have been in the Philippines since 500 AD and they have been sharing their culture and their influences, not just in the Philippines, but also in Malaysia and other surrounding countries ng ating bansa. So, we have the Badjao known as the sea nomads, di ba? So, they live or they are fisher folks ang tawag sa kanila kasi they live in the sea or ocean and also wala silang sariling mga bahay and the boat or the ships are their only home that they have. So, they are seafarers or sea nomads. Okay, walang permanent na address sa dagat. Okay, we also have the indigenous people of the northern Luzon which are called Kankanai. Kankanai is spelled as Kankanai. E-E-Y pala, sorry. Kankanai, the Kankanai, an indigenous people of northern Luzon. And we also have the Aita, spelled as A-E-T-A, considered as the earliest inhabitants of the Philippines, and they live in the mountain parts of Luzon. The Lumad also are the Visayan term. Lumad spelled L-U-M-A-D, the Visayan term meaning native or indigenous. So it describes a group of almost 18 ethnic groups in Mindanao and also in the Visayas. Okay? So, yung mga yun, minention ko sa inyo, Ifugao, Badjao, Kankanay, Aita, and the Lumads. They are parang pinaka-basic na mga ethnical groups. Now, what are the challenges that they face, no? These people, later, will be discussing about the challenges that they face as indigenous people. Pero bago natin yan puntahan kung paano sila namumuhay ngayon, let's go back to the influences of the Spanish, American, and Japanese on the culture of the Filipinos. Kung bakit ganito tayo ngayon, di ba? So, sorry, dahil historian ang inyong history teacher po ang inyong kaharap ngayon, kaya medyo mag-focus po tayo kung paano tayo nag-evolve from those ethnical groups, identities into the modern Filipinos. Okay, under the Spanish influence, itong mga theories nila, when they arrive in the Philippines, all they see are like different kinds of Filipino people. They even called us barbarians, diba? Kasi wala pa tayong sarili nating government and they think that they came to the Philippines to colonize us at bigyan tayo ng sarili nating, kumbaga, sistema. Akala nila wala pa tayong sariling sistema, but we already have our barangays, di ba? And our kingdoms, small kingdoms within those barangays. Kumbaga, those barangays can comprise of our own. Meron na tayong mga sariling, mga malalakas na dato, na meron pong malalapad na mga kalupaan na sinasakop, di ba? Some even have islands that they dominate as their own, di ba? Hindi lamang kinship na tulad ng sinabi ko sa inyo kanina na mga kamag-anak nila na dumami within that certain village, and that what happens is that dumating yung panahon na lumaki sila, and that the datu or these people have been considered as one community na. Now, when the Spaniards came, they categorized the Filipinos primarily as 3 groups. So they have identified the Negrito people, the Negritos. They also have the non-Negrito people. Ito na yung sinasabi kanina ni Bayer, di ba? The Malaysian and the Indonesians. No? Hindi naman sila lahat maiitim. And the non-Negrito, the Indios or the Indonesians na mga ano natin, and then the Malay ancestors natin, which are the Moros, di ba? Negritos, Indios, and Moros. Ito po yung 3 kategorya na akala nila ganito lang yung mga tao sa Philippines. The Moros, okay, with their classification largely based on the observation of their physical appearance and religious practices during this colonial period. So rather than providing accurate historical insights into the complex migratory patterns of the populated archipelago, mas ginusto na lang nilang ikategorya ang mga Pilipino sa 3 categories na to. So, Spanish influence, di ba, iba sa mga Spaniards na to, they married Filipinos, di ba? And so, shared with us their religion, not just through marriage, but also for the influence of the church during the time. And what happened is that they influenced our religion, they influenced the marriage or the family life, they influenced the government, and so, for 300 years, ang ating pong sariling mga ancestry noon ay halos nahaluan na po ng Spanish influences. Next, colonizers that came to the Philippines with their influence are the Americans. So the American colonialism also influenced the Philippines in other ways, including education. So the Americanization of the education system, the University of the Philippines was founded during that time, was established, and they were sharing with us all the cultures that they have. And dito na po tayo, mga Filipino, most of our Filipinos are English speaking, and we have established English as a second language for the Philippines, di ba? Dami-dami nga pong mga BPO industry na pumupasok po in your contemporary world studies, di ba? Because of this influence that they have, Filipinos are in demand worldwide as customer service and the customer service business, such as the BPO or this industry of call center agents have been penetrating the Philippine economy, at malaki po ang nagiging tulong nito. The American education system has been adopted in the Philippines. And then religion then. So this establishment of the Catholic Church, which was influenced to us by the Spaniards, have been disestablished or binuksan po to have the Protestant missionaries to come to the islands of the Philippines. So iba-iba na po yung naging religion natin. Okay, and what happens is that even here in Luzon, di ba? Sa Luzon dito, we still have the Catholic religion in Visayas as well. It is still very clearly practiced, no? Yung ati-atihan, ano pa ba yung mga sa Cebu, they have also the Mascara in Bacolod, di ba? Panagbenga Festival here, di ba? Madami pa rin ng mga festival which are still Catholic are being practiced nowadays. But Protestant missionaries has also gave way to other religions such as the Protestant religion in the Philippines. So iba-iba na po naging influence niyan sa atin. American influence also have penetrated our system, di ba? May mga Afro-American tayong mga descendants na, may mga African-American na tayong mga anak, di ba? Apple the App is an example of an American Afro-American descendant. Kasi nandito daw yun, based on his story, no, life story, parang dito sa Pampanga, when American soldiers came to the Philippines, in the American bases, yun, doon na-meet ng nanay niya yung kanyang tatay. So, naging mga ganyan po mga kwento. Even in Vietnam, ganun din po yun, di ba? Vietnam with the Miss Saigon story, di ba? May iba-iba pong influence ng mga Americans in the Philippines as well. The next one is the Japanese influence. So, although Japan's occupation of the Philippines during the World War II was very brief, like what we've watched in Pulang Araw in the Netflix, it was very brief in comparison with the Spanish and American colonization periods. So it still left a lasting impact on the Filipino culture. This impact actually gave us, kahit na naging cruel sila no, and violent during the time that they have occupied us, they still gave emphasis on discipline, hard work, and perseverance. Even nowadays, di ba, when we watch the Japanese culture, marami naman na-influensyan pa rin ng ating mga modern Filipinos, di ba? Their art and aesthetics, the appreciation for the of the Japanese was also exposed to the Filipinos, to the Japanese art. And di ba yung isang yung Japanese arts nila was also shown in the ano nga ba yun, yung songs and dance nila were also featured in the Pulang Araw, di ba? Pinapakita ang kanilang dances and paintings, di ba? And their appreciation for craftsmanship and attention to details. So, kahit papaano, di ba, it's also influencing us. And even nowadays, manga, art and comic, yung comics, di ba? And even Japanese origami, di ba? Yung mga arrangements are influencing our art and culture. Next one would be cultural and linguistic diversity of the Filipinos nowadays. So, contemporary Filipino society consists of nearly 100 distinct ethnic groups. Napakarami, but we will only focus on some. Tulad na na-mention ko kanina sa inyo, the Ifugao, the Badjao, the Kankanay, Aita, and the Lumans. So, these are the basic, no? Pero meron din akong isi-share pa sa inyo later na 10 ethnic groups or tribes na talagang dominant in the ethno-linguistic category. So, can you identify any specific cultural habit traits that reflect this diversity? Ano yung mga, sa tingin ninyo, maliban doon sa mga mention ko, you can answer that in the YouTube comment section as well. Can you identify any specific cultural traits that reflect this diversity? Ano yung mga pagkakaiba na ng mga ethnic groups na to? So, you can name one or two in your comment section. Okay? So, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, we have the ethnical groups na halos 100 ethnic groups natin, di ba? But right now, as you can see on the map, we have the specific groupings into a larger scope, no? We have the Ilocanos, of the Kalingas, Ifugao, we have the Kankanay, we have, yung tulad ng sinabi ko kanina sa inyo, we have the Ifugao, the Badjao, the Kankanay, the Aita, and the Lumads. Pero ito, dagdag pa, oh. So, if you can check the map out, oh, meron tayong mga Surigao nun, Kamayo, we have the Bisaya, the Bulanon, the Cebuanos, not just from Cebu, but also from Mindanao, oh, may Cebuano language. This is based on the ethno-linguistic partition ng ating bansa. Ha? We have the Maguindanao nun, the Badjaos, the Tausug, the Sambuangueños. We also have the Rizalen, Capisnon, the Aquianon, which is, I think, from Aklan, Hamtikanon, which is from Antique, the Hiligaynon, from Iloilo to Bacolod or Negros Occidental. Cebuano naman po, pinapractice ng Cebu and Negros Oriental. And you know, also some parts of, I think that's Davao in Mindanao, are Cebuanos, di ba? And we have also the Warays, we have the Bicolanos, and then we have the Masbateños, Cuyonon in Palawan, the Tagalogs of the Isiha and Vizcaya of Nueva Ecija and Vizcaya. We have the Kapampangans, we have the Ilocanos and the Ifugaos, and the Ivatan in Batanes. So, iba-iba po, di ba? didivision ngayon ng ating mga ethnic groups na to. Now, these ethnic groups are nowadays, no, in the modern times, are facing challenges such as this. So take notes of this, the challenges faced by indigenous people in the modern times. Okay, number one is poverty. Wala to sa notes, wala dyan sa PowerPoint, so be sure to take down notes of this. Poverty, and indigenous people have higher rates of poverty because of unemployment and illiteracy other than the rest of the population. Why is that? Diba? We have unemployment, illiteracy. Do you think these sea nomads, the Badjaus, they can finish college because they have no permanent address in the sea as well as on land? Diba? Medyo mahirap yon. Unless they are really committed to do so and to learn. Meron din naman yata mga outreaches for these people to learn how to read and write. But earning a degree, parang medyo challenge po yun sa kanilang way of life. We also have unemployment, di ba? Bakit unemployment? Aminin natin, no? When I was at your age, 18 to 20, I think, the first job application I had was from a very big group of companies na nowadays, di ba? So, meron silang grocery. Malaki, sabihin na, I cannot mention the store. But it's very prominent. They have one in Pasig, North EDSA, and dami nilang branch all over the Philippines. And my mom was actually working ng bata ko sa isang store din in Iloilo. Now, when I arrived here in Manila, I was applying for a part-time job kasi hindi pa ako tapos ng college ko noon. And I lined up for the HR na lumabas yung HR. And what the HR asked us to do, kaming ladies, was to lift our skirt. Kailangan nakapalda ka pag nag-apply ka. And then, kasi ang gagawin, iaangat yung skirt mo kasi ang uniform po ng store na yon ay blue na miniskirt. So you have to lift your skirt to see kung maganda yung tuhod mo, maganda yung legs mo, maputi, or whatever. I don't know what categories. But I was rejected. Coming from the province, I was very dark-skinned kasi sa CAT. Tapos mahilig din ako mag-beach kasi ang lugar namin sa probinsya, we have 3 beaches na pwede namin puntahan na galaan. Every weekend, we swim in the ocean and the sea. So, kaya ang ganda-ganda, di ba? Sarap-sarap. So, I was very dark-skinned at the time and I was rejected. The HR attendant was actually asked me to smile. And then, yun, okay naman people. Pero siguro pag angat ng legs ko, yun, ng skirt ko sa legs, nakita na very dark-skinned ako. So, hindi ako pumasa. I don't know. Hindi pa naman binabasa yung biodata or resume at that time. But perhaps it's the discrimination. Even sa height, no? Di ba? Pero nowadays, hindi mo pwedeng gamitin na, kapag indigenous people ka, they have special consideration. Even in the police and the army, di ba? We have a certain height requirement. Yung mga negritos natin, they are 5 feet and below. Dati ang height ng lalaki should be 5'4" and babae 5'2" in the application for the Armed Forces of the Philippines, di ba? So, pwedeng pumasa ang mga matatangkad, pero yung mga mababa hindi. But it was included already in the Constitution that every government institution can hire indigenous people and give special consideration. So, meron silang papel. So, once they belong to an indigenous group or indigenous people, they will be considered to, kasi meron na tayong ganung provision sa Constitution natin. Hindi na sila pwedeng i-reject sa government employment. But, in private, yun, medyo mahirap po. Even in one certain drugstore, isa pang rejection na natanggap ko, nakalagay talaga sa, one big chain of drugstore dito in Manila. Nagpunta kami. Nag-apply. Nakalagay talaga, fair skin requirement. So, tayo mga morena, hindi pwede doon. So, unemployment could be a large basis also for poverty, the rate of poverty of indigenous people. So, lack of access to basic services, indigenous communities are often remote, malayo sila. Tulad na sinabi ko sa inyo, the Dumagats of Antipolo,
We have to cross 5 rivers, no? Ang sarap-sarap ng mga river na yun, nalilinis. And then up and down and up and down with or a heavy load. Ang hirap po. So, they lack access to basic services. They don't have internet. Kapag pumunta ka doon, walang cell site, di ba? They don't have internet. They don't have, ang clean water nila, galing lang sa bukal, di ba? They don't have electricity. Wala silang kuryente. So, lack of access to basic services is one. Even the Badjaws, di ba? Paano magkakakuryente sa dagat? But they have Wi-Fi malamang. Lack of legal recognition. So, most indigenous communities do not have legal recognition of their traditional lands. So, medyo pinapalayas, di ba? Like the Indians, di ba? Mga Aita na yan, di ba? Dati hindi naman sila sa bundok lang. But now, natutulak po sila papunta ng bundok dahil we occupy more of their lands. Threatened cultivation sites. Traditional cultivation sites have been degraded and threatened by migrant farmers. Yung Ifugao rice, Banawe rice terrace is natin, kung hindi naging cultural heritage yan, most of them would be, pabahay na, di ba? But because of cultural heritage resolutions in the Constitution of the Philippines, then we have the right na protection ng itong mga cultivation sites na to and indigenous communities. Okay? Now, what are the 10 largest ethnic groups in the Philippines? I want you to write this down also. 24% is Tagalog. So, ito is a demographic breakdown in the map. 24% is Tagalog, 11% is Bisaya or Bisayan or Binisaya, 10% is Cebuano, 9% is Ilocano, 8% is Hiligaynon or Ilonggo, 7% is Bicolano, and 4% is Waraynon. Okay, so take note of those information, demographic breakdown of the Philippines according sa indigenous community or ethnic groups, no? Demographic breakdown of the Philippines. Again, I'm mentioning 24% is Tagalog, 11% is Visayas or Bisaya, or Bisaya with a B, Bisaya with a V as in victory, or Binisaya. Okay, 11% yan. 10% is Cebuano, 9% is Ilocano, 8% is Hiligaynon or Ilonggo, 7% is Bicol, and 4% is Waray. Okay? So take note of those 10 largest ethnic groups in the Philippines in demographic breakdown. Okay, now, for the last slide that we have, this last slide that we have, I want you to reflect on the migration theories. So the peopling of the Philippines involves multiple theories and routes, di ba? Marami tayong minention sa inyo kanina. Each theory provides insights into the complex history of migration in the Philippines. So for you, no, according to you, what migration or which migration theory do you find most compelling and why? What's compelling, di ba? Kung ano yung mas nakakaangat para sa inyo, sa paniniwala ninyo, which migration theory do you find most compelling and why? Explain to me in 150 words and submit it to me in hard copy whenever you come to school the next time that we see. That you report to school. So send to me, I want you to write down an essay, of 150 words, no copy paste, please. And I want you to explain why you believe that that theory is the most believable or most compelling or most appealing to you and why. And you can explain it in 150 words, submit to me in handwritten, okay? Handwritten in a yellow paper and submit to me the next time that to your class representative, and your class representative will submit it to me the next time that we come to school physically. So thank you so much, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask it in the comment section of the YouTube lecture or during our G-Meet in the next session that we have. Thank you so much. Hope you have taken down notes, the important notes for your quizzes as well. This is your teacher, Hazel Villanueva. Thank you so much and have a good day.